Today, we give thanks for all the fathers, the grandfathers, and the father figures who helped shape us. The men whose strength and courage have been pillars for us to lean on. The men whose faithfulness has laid down an example for us to live by. The men who showed us how to love Jesus with an unquenchable passion. The men who gave of themselves time and time again. For all the times you were patient, even though we didn't deserve it. For the grace you've shown in moments of struggle. For the days you gave of your time when there wasn't much left to give. For loving us, guiding us, leading us, and showing us Jesus. For all these things, we say thank you. We love you, Dad.
As I was thinking about this passage, I was thinking, just like a fisherman, what lure am I going to put on? Should I use a worm? A minnow? One of those fake thingies that you put on the hook. So then I was thinking about how God works in our lives. Sometimes it's like bam, 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 and you're just like sitting going there, wow, God, you answered that prayer. Other times it takes years of praying. But looking back, you see how God is working. You see how he didn't let you get that one job. Or maybe how he let you get that one job because you ignored his stop signs. Such an occasion happened to me one time. I ignored God's stop signs. I wanted this job. I wanted out of the other job. Truth is, I really liked the other job. I don't know what my problem was. On the way to the interview, flat tire. Coincidence? Maybe. So then I was headed on my lunch break from the old job to the new job because in healthcare, they have to inject something in your arm to see if you have TB. For the life of me, I can't say that word. And then if you do, it'll swell up. Otherwise, it'll be nothing. So then I'm like leaving that new job after I have the test done and crash. Fender bender. I'm like thinking, nah. I really should have listened to God, canceled my resignation, never worked at that place. It was probably the worst year of my life at a job. I absolutely hated it. And God said, no. And I said, yes. And he allowed me to get that job. Kind of like today's story with Saul being chosen king. We remember previously Israel said, we want a king. I want to be like everybody else who has a king. Samuel knew, no way, you can't do that. He knew the dangers of having a king. But God said, I know what my people are like. Let them have a king then. So here we are, the choosing of Saul. So who was Saul? Saul was from the land of the tribe of Benjamin, smallest tribe in all of Israel. Do you know, it was just really funny when I was studying this, and I remembered from Judges when Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin, almost got wiped out. The people had to think very cleverly of a way to repopulate this tribe of Benjamin. But that's for another story. So smallest tribe. But Saul himself, his father was Kish. And there's other people before him, names of which I'm sure I butchered. But they were very, very wealthy. And Saul was super good looking. So today in the sermon, I'm going to approach the point of view of the servant, because I'm neither really, really, really good looking, and I'm not really, really tall either. So I could not play Saul. But think of it like, well, most of you, Robert Redford combined with a really, 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 really tall basketball player. And for the life of me, I was going to take a Michael Jordan, but he wasn't really tall, but he was really good. So Saul was very, very, very good looking, very tall. He should have been really super confident, full of himself, but we're going to find out he was not. So what's the problem? Those darn donkeys went wandering again. Oh my goodness. Oh, the donkeys are lost. Yeah, Saul picked me, his servant, to go look for the donkeys. How cool was that? And so we traveled all around the land of Benjamin, everywhere. And we can't find the donkeys. Where are these donkeys? They can't be found. The last time we went looking for the donkeys, boom, we found them right away. But this time, no donkeys to be found. I mean, this is like crazy. And Saul's like, he's like, well, I can't find these donkeys. My father is going to be terribly worried about me. We've been gone a long time. Where are the donkeys? He's like, let's just pack it up. You know, my father's going to chalk it off, maybe yell at me a little bit for not finding the donkeys, but I think he's more concerned about me. Now, I'm thinking, we are right by Ramah. I remember hearing about a guy. Yes, I know a guy who's a holy man. Everything he says comes true. Everything. It is just amazing. And his character is awesome. It's like way up here. Oh my goodness. And Saul, being the Debbie Downer again, he says, well, we don't have nothing to give him. Saul looks at me and says, you ate all the bread. I'm like, hey, we both have the bread. We have no bread left. We're hungry. We're very, very hot. I mean, what I would give to sleep on a nice, cool bed. But I said, I have something in my pocket. Oh, it's a silver coin. Ooh, we can give that to the holy man. And Saul was like, let's go. Let's go and seek out this holy man. So we're walking to the city. We see some women on the outskirts of the city, and they're drawing water. And we're like, where's this holy man? And these women were like, he's in the city. You came to the city at the right time. He's going to be offering sacrifices and eating on the shrine, on the high place and everything. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Pagans use the high places, right? Pagans use the shrine. But once in a while, the one true God of Israel was worshipped up there. And that's because Shiloh was destroyed, you know, where they used to have the Ark of the Covenant and everything, it was destroyed. So just because somebody else does something bad up there doesn't mean the Lord can't take it. Because his creation is not evil. And so we need to just kind of like rest for a second. It's okay that it's up at a high place in the shrine. But then the women are like, you must hurry. Hurry. Get there right away. because he's going up there right now. He is. And so we hurried. We were like walking super fast up, and we saw this guy. Now I'm thinking to myself, that's got to be the holy man. Saul, who should have been full of confidence, he says, do you know where the house of the seer is? Oh my goodness. And so this holy man, he's like, I am the seer. It is me. I am Samuel. Oh my goodness, can you believe this? It's Samuel. He's the holy man. Oh my goodness. It is just amazing. And so Samuel, oh, this is really, really cool. I kind of found this afterwards. The previous day, God spoke to Samuel. And God said, I'm sending you a man from the tribe of Benjamin this time tomorrow who has lost some donkeys. And you are to make him prince over my people. He will free my people from the Philistine rule. Because I know about the Israel's hard circumstances. I've heard their cries for help. I mean, this is like before. Never did Samuel even know who Saul was. But God told Samuel the prophet. And it came true. See what I mean? It came true. Samuel really is a holy man. He really is a prophet. Because everything God said comes true when he speaks to his prophets. And I mean, think about it. Think about it. How wonderfully orchestrated this has been, down to the last little minute detail. I mean, that is the kind of God we have. We have a God that is very, very concerned about detail. It is just amazing. So anyway, Samuel says to us guys, he said, come up with me to the shrine and eat with me. In the morning, I'm going to tell you what's on your mind, and I'll send you on the way. And then he throws a little by the way. It's like, first of all, how in the world does Samuel even know anything? What was on my mind or Saul's mind? But we already know that. But anyway, Saul was thinking that. And he says, by the way, those lost donkeys, they've been found. The ones you've been hunting for 3 days are found. Don't worry about them. And then he throws another one out there. It's like, talk about a heavy brick. And Israel's future is in your hands. It's like telling somebody, okay, you're looking for lost donkeys, and now in contemporary terms, you're the president of the United States. I know. I mean, it's just insane. But it is most awesome. Saul being Saul, once again, he's like, I'm only a Benjamite. Such a small tribe. The most insignificant tribe. At that, why are you talking to me like this? Think about that. Switching to modern times. God knows us. We know us. And we think many times, we think, God, how can you use me? How can you use me? You know my weaknesses. I mean, in my frame of mind, God, you know my weaknesses. You know how sometimes I open my mouth, and I'm sure I've opened my mouth a time or two and said something really dumb. And then I'm thinking to myself, why did I say something so dumb? Should I apologize? Should I just kind of let time slip by? But God says, I can use you. And by the way, I gave you a filter too, called your wife. But God can use any of us. He can even use Saul, any one of us. In all of our weaknesses, we become strong only through Christ. So, getting back to the story, Samuel and Saul were at the dining hall in the shrine. At the head of the table was Saul. Can you believe that? At the head of the table with 30 other people around. And Samuel looks to his cook and he says, bring out the choice cut of meat. Bring out that prime rib, the one I told you to reserve. Yes, this was a big meal at the head of the table, and now Saul was eating the meat that was supposed to be for the priest. It is amazing. And the chef brought it out, gave it to Saul, and said, this meal was set aside just for you. It was especially prepared for this time and occasion with these guests. Does that kind of sound like the book of Ruth, kind of? For such a time as this. I mean, I've heard that many times in the Bible, not exact same words, but for just a time like this, this meal was prepared. God does indeed do that from time to time. God does indeed totally overwhelm us with blessings. I mean, I was just thinking the other day, we're going back home from Minnesota. We're no longer Minnesotanites. We are Illinoisites, if that isn't even a word. And Chadwick never looked so good. The water tower without no ladder. The church, the post office, the DMV, the cafe on Second, which is really good, by the way, never looked so good. So anyway, I was just totally lost track of my train of thought, but God overwhelms us at times, and we realize the blessings we have, and we realize the love of a church even. It's just amazing. So they're all done eating everything, and they're going up to the roof. Samuel, Saul, and me were talking and everything, and mind you, it was a flat roof. So if you're getting any ideas of going on top of your not flat roof, don't do it, especially if you plan to sleep. They talked for a little bit, and they got to go to sleep on top of the roof. This was quite common in the Middle East. The roof was so cool at night. The sun went down. There was a nice cool breeze. If you want to sleep on a roof in the Middle East, it could be a very good night's sleep as soon as the sun goes down. But then at daybreak, Samuel called to Saul on the roof. He's like, get up, get up, get up. I'm sure Saul was just knocked out. After a big meal like that, he slept like a baby. I slept pretty good too. And he's like, come on, get up now. Let's go out into the street. And we went out in the street. And it wasn't just a, get up, I'll send you off. No, it was a, I'm going to walk you out of the town. Out of the town. Which I think is pretty cool. But wasn't cool wasn't cool was that I had to go ahead. Samuel told Saul, send your servant ahead, and when he can't hear anything, you're all good. And in my case, my hearing isn't so good anyway, so I didn't have to go too far forward. But if I tried to look back at them, I bet you I could read their lips. But I didn't do that. I learned later that Samuel had a word of God to tell Saul. So while I missed it at the moment, I did hear exactly what happened. Samuel anointed Saul with oil. Now, this has never been done other than to the priest. And if you think of a whole flask of oil basically dumped on him, drenched his beard, his hair, and everything. And then he kissed Saul and he said, do you know what this means? This is huge. You have been anointed prince over Israel. Now, I think that God knew that Saul would be a little hesitant. And so he's like, told Samuel, these signs are going to happen. They haven't happened yet, but these signs are going to happen. After you leave me today, when you get close to your home country of Benjamin, you're going to meet two men actually, men at Rachel's tomb. They'll say the donkeys you went to look for are found. Your father's forgotten about the donkeys, though. He's worried about you. He's actually quite beside himself, worried about you. Quite. And then, leaving there, you're going to go to Oak of Tabor. There you see 3 men going up to worship God at Bethel. One will be carrying 3 young goats. Okay. 1 man carrying 3 goats. That's interesting. Maybe they were little goats. Another carrying 3 sacks of bread and a third a jug of wine. They'll say, hello, how are you? And offer you 2 loaves of bread, which you will accept. Finally, you're going to come to Gibeath of God, where there's a Philistine garrison. As you approach your town, you run into a bunch of prophets coming down from the shrine, playing harps, tambourines, and flutes and drums. And they'll be prophesying. Before you know it, you'll be prophesying too, because the Spirit of God will come on you. And you will be transformed. You will be a new person. And Samuel said, when these confirming signs are accomplished, you'll know that you're ready. Whatever job you're given to do, you're going to do it because God is with you. We're talking about total transformation of a person. He goes from young Saul, perhaps just a goat herder or something, to the Prince of Israel. God transformed him. But then he says, no, go down to Gilgal and I'll follow. I'll come down and join you in worship by sacrifice, burnt offerings, and peace offerings. And then wait 7 days. And then I'll come and tell you what to do next. So wait 7 days. Those 7 days must have felt like a lifetime. And then Saul turned and left Samuel. At that very moment, God transformed him, made him into a new person, and everything he said happened. Everything. That's what's amazing about the Bible, isn't it? We can look at all the prophets of the Old Testament, even all the prophecies about Jesus came true. You know what the chances of that even happening? It's like I have a better chance of standing on the top of my roof of my parsonage and getting struck by lightning, which I will never do because I don't like heights. the chances of all those prophecies ever coming true. But they did. Every single one of them were true about Jesus. It is just amazing. So anyway, so everything happened that said it was going to happen. What's kind of interesting is when they were prophesying, one man spoke up and said, "Who started this? Where did these people even come from? I mean, really?" And then there's an old prophet that got going about how Saul was among the prophets. But Saul was going to be of Israel. He was going to leave the people. But no. Saul goes home, okay? His uncle's like, "Where have you been, young man?" And he's like, "I was just looking for some donkeys. By the way, they're okay and everything, But Saul didn't tell his uncle everything. I mean, seriously, who would believe him? I mean, it's like coming home and saying, "Guess what? I am now mayor of Chadwick." Oh, anyway, so donkeys were found, and now we are going to have another assembly of the people. Samuel got the whole assembly of Israel together at Mizpah, and he addressed his people. And we're hearing the same old stories all over again, aren't we? God kind of does that too. You know what? I think God really knows me really, really good because I don't always listen to the story the first time. So if you really want me to know something, tell me the story over and over again until I say to you, "I think we've heard that story enough. Now you can give me a quiz." But anyway, everybody's together, and he said, "I brought you out of Egypt. I delivered you from Egyptian oppression that made your life miserable." Remember when they left Egypt, and all of a sudden they're telling Moses, they're saying, "Oh, what we wouldn't give to be back in Egypt again." I think you forgot how people made you miserable. So Israel had a history, and God got them all out of all sorts of troubles, didn't he? But then he says, "Now you say we want a king. We want a king. We are rejecting you, God, but I'll give you a king. If that's what you want, you can have a king." And so all the families lined up, and they all cast a vote. "We want Saul, we want Saul, we want Saul." And Saul it was. But where is Saul anyway? God told Samuel, "He's hiding right under that baggage right over there." Okay, you think super tall guy, super good looking, he's hiding under the baggage. But folks, this is our king. But then they ran and got him. They saw how good looking he was. And Samuel said, "Take a good look at him because you have chosen the best. There's no one like him in the whole country." And with a big shout, they said, "Long live the king! Long live the king!" Samuel did re-instruct them, re-educated them on all the rules of having a king, wrote it all down in the book. And then everyone went home. And Saul went home as well. But there was a small little group of people, let's just call them the riffraff, and they're like, "We ain't going to congratulate you." They held him in contempt and refused to acknowledge him. Saul didn't pay them any mind at all. I mean, isn't it true? We always got a group of people who go, boo! Saul's crowned king. So right at the end of this chapter, we have another little problem. Nahash, the king of the Amorites, was brutalizing the tribes of Gad and Reuben, gouging out their right eye. By the way, it's really easy to gouge out somebody's eye. I'm not really sure why they're doing it though, but it definitely was intimidating for anybody that would come to Israel to help. And there were very few Israelites living on the east side of the Jordan River who had not had the right eye gouged out by Nahash. But 7,000 men escaped from the Amorites and were now living safely in Jabesh. So next week, we're going to find out what happened with that little eye gouging incident. So what can we learn? What can we learn from this story? What's really, really, really super cool is out of the monarchy, you have Saul, then you have King David, and you go on and on and on. Out of the monarchy, the family line of Jesus comes out of the monarchy. God's plan of salvation. Saul plays a small part in this line for God's plan of salvation. And it shows that God is always working. Even when we don't think he's working, God is always working. Many times behind the scenes. Sometimes it's boom, 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 and you just see everything click. Every light is green, not one red light, and you just cruise right through it. And you're like, oh my goodness, if this isn't from God, it has to be. It has to be. And we must remember that God, despite anything that was going to happen in the future, that at that particular point, that God changed Saul's character through God's Spirit. And if the one thing about Christianity that separates it from everything is God changes people. If you had some little device and you could look at yourself 30 years ago, so other than being really, really young and able to do things that you can't do anymore, you could see your character way back then, and you can see it now, and you can say, oh my goodness, God, you really have been working on me, but you continue to work on me. We're not done. There's still bad things about all of us, but God never quits working. And God is even working. There's still things in prophecy concerning the end of times, which I personally think we're getting close because times are definitely interesting, are they not? But all those prophecies that have not happened yet will happen. And one day, everybody's going to stand before God's throne. And every person on this earth is going to bend at their knees and confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. Every single person. You're either going to do it by humbling yourself before God and saying, God, I can't do this myself. I can't save myself. I believe that Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins. I believe he is Lord, and I believe you, God, raised him from the dead, and then you will be saved. That is it. Or the alternative, he's going to break your kneecaps, and you're going to bow either way. And you still will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, and you still will know that God raised him from the dead, but you will not be saved because you didn't do it while you were still living. That, my friends, is of utmost importance. is to know that there is salvation, that today is a day of salvation. But the road to hell is very, very wide, very wide. And the road to salvation is only through the Son, only through Jesus Christ can you be saved. There is no other way. It's like there's only one road that leads into town. That is it. All other roads lead to disaster. Let us pray.